Inside the U.S. Navy, not every war machine earns respect. Some are feared the moment they enter service, some are celebrated as breakthroughs, and some slowly fade into silence. This submarine belonged to the last category. When it was first introduced, expectations were high. New design, modern systems, advanced engineering. On paper, it looked like the future of underwater warfare. But reality told a different story. During early evaluations, problems began to appear, not catastrophic failures, but constant limitations, tracking inconsistencies, slow response in simulated combat conditions, operational delays that didn't match modern naval demands. Each report added another layer of doubt. At first, engineers defended it. They called it still maturing. They called it adjustment phase. But inside command discussions, the tone slowly changed. No one said it openly at first, but the conclusion was forming quietly in the background. It wasn't meeting expectations. And in military systems like this, silence is more powerful than rejection, because once a vessel stops being discussed, it starts becoming invisible. Not officially removed, not publicly criticized, just ignored in planning, reassigned to secondary exercises, kept away from critical operations, used only when necessary. The submarine that was supposed to represent advancement was now treated like a backup tool, a machine still in service, but no longer in consideration. And yet, in warfare, the most dangerous things are often the ones no one is watching anymore. Months later, a large-scale U.S. Navy exercise was scheduled in open waters. It was not supposed to be anything unusual, just another coordinated readiness test. A controlled environment, predictable scenarios, known variables. Every unit had a defined role. Surface ships formed formations. Aircraft handled surveillance. Command centers monitored data in real time. And the submarine, the same one that had been quietly labeled as underperforming, was assigned the simplest task possible. Observe, track, report. No critical mission, no frontline responsibility. Just support data collection. Almost like it was being tested, one last time without anyone admitting it. At the beginning, everything looked normal. Fleet movements followed planned routes. Communication channels were stable. Tracking systems showed expected readings. No surprises, no tension, just routine naval coordination. But deep below the surface, something was already different. The submarine did not behave like the rest of the fleet. While surface units followed predictable movement patterns, it moved with complete silence. No unnecessary transmissions, no obvious positioning, no exposed behavior that tracking systems could lock onto easily. It used depth intelligently. It used timing carefully. And most importantly, it avoided predictability. Hours passed. Surface teams attempted to confirm its exact position, but the data became inconsistent. At one moment, systems showed it in range. Moments later, it wasn't there. At first, command assumed technical delay. A minor tracking error, normal during complex exercises. But then the gap widened. More updates came in. Still no stable location. Operators checked systems again and again. Nothing matched. Now it wasn't just confusion. It was uncertainty, because a submarine that was supposed to be easy to trace, he was no longer behaving like something that could be tracked at all. And somewhere in the command room, a quiet realization began to form. Something was not following the script anymore. At this point, the exercise stopped feeling routine. What was supposed to be a simple training scenario had turned into a tracking problem no one was comfortable explaining. The fleet adjusted its posture. Search parameters were expanded. Surveillance aircraft increased coverage patterns. Sonar grids were recalibrated. Everything that could locate a submarine was now actively searching for one. But the strange part was this: the more they searched, the less certain they became. Then it happened. A brief, unexpected contact. Not loud, not clear. Just a flicker in the system. A possible position update. Operators froze. Data teams double-checked immediately. And for a moment, they had it. The submarine was located. But the position didn't make sense. It wasn't behind the fleet. It wasn't outside the perimeter. It was inside a blind zone. A sector that should have been constantly monitored, a space considered covered. Yet somehow, it had been missed. Command systems recalculated rapidly. Conflicting data started appearing across screens. Some sensors confirmed presence, others denied it completely. The room tension shifted instantly. Because this was no longer about tracking delay, it was about capability. And the uncomfortable realization was forming fast. The submarine wasn't just moving randomly. It was controlling when it could be seen, not by speed, not by power, but by understanding exactly how detection systems think. And in that moment, the exercise stopped being an evaluation. It started becoming a warning. When the exercise officially ended, there was no celebration, no jokes, no quick debrief laughter like usual naval tests, just silence. The kind of silence that happens when everyone in the room understands something has gone wrong or right, in a way they didn't expect. The data was replayed again and again. Screens were checked, logs were verified, sensor feeds were reconstructed from multiple sources, and slowly the picture became impossible to ignore. The submarine that had been labeled underperforming had not failed the system. It had outmaneuvered the assumptions behind it, not through raw speed, not through firepower, but through something far more dangerous in modern warfare: understanding the system, watching it. It didn't behave like a predictable asset. It behaved like a silent observer inside the exercise itself, always present when it needed to be, always absent when it didn't, and always positioned in ways that forced the tracking network to question itself. In military doctrine, that is not supposed to happen. A vessel is either detectable or it is not. But this one had created a third category: selectively invisible. That realization changed the tone completely. Reports were rewritten. Classifications were adjusted. Evaluations were quietly revised. No public announcement was made. No dramatic statement followed. But inside the U.S. Navy, one thing became very clear. They had nearly dismissed something they didn't fully understand. And in modern warfare, that is the kind of mistake that doesn't announce itself twice. It only shows its consequences when it is already too late.